Hello again and welcome back to the channel. This is Michael from TOEFLresources.com, and today I'm going to talk about TOEFL Speaking Question 2, also known as the Campus Announcement Question. And yes, before I get started, I do want to say that this video is updated for the new version of the TOEFL, which started in August of 2019. All right, in today's video, I'm going to start by talking about the structure of this question and how it's actually designed. After that, I'll give you a template that you can use to answer this question. I'll talk a little bit about taking notes. I'll give you a sample answer, and at the end, I'll talk a little bit about how the answer is actually scored. All right, so let's get started by talking about the structure of the question. Now, this might seem really boring, but don't skip this part of the video. It is important. That's because ETS uses pretty much the same structure every single week when they make this question. And I really feel that if you understand how ETS designs this question, it will be easier for you to answer this question. And not only that, I think if you understand how the test is put together, you won't feel quite so nervous about it. All right, so here's what you have to know. First, you are going to read a short announcement or a newspaper article or a letter published in a newspaper. This will be about 100 words. It's going to describe a change that will happen at a university, or it will propose a change that should happen at a university. And it's going to give 2 reasons for this change. You'll be given 45 seconds to read it, and then it will disappear forever. Now, I want to emphasize this sentence here. It will give 2 reasons for the change. A lot of popular TOEFL textbooks and websites get this wrong. When they make sample questions, they give just 1 reason or 3 reasons, or sometimes no reasons. But on the real test, there's always 2 reasons for the change, and your job is to identify those reasons and to make a note of them. After the reading goes away, you're going to hear 2 students talk about the reading. They'll talk for about 1.5 minutes, and it will always be 1 man and 1 woman. In this conversation, one of the students will express an opinion about this change. He or she will agree with the change or disagree with the change or, and this is very rare, have a mixed opinion. And he or she will specifically refer to the 2 reasons for the change from the reading when they support their argument. And what I mean by that is if they support the change, they're going to mention the 2 reasons from the reading and expand upon them. And if they don't support the change, they're going to mention the 2 reasons from the reading and they're going to challenge them. See, the reading and the conversation are really closely connected. This is why we call this an integrated speaking question. There's a real integration, both in the question design and in the answer you're expected to give. Now, regarding this mixed opinion style, it's very, very rare, but in this case, the student does not express a single opinion. What they express is that they agree with one of the reasons and they disagree with the other reason. Now, this won't really affect your answer very much. I'm going to give you a template to deal with this in just a moment, but I mention it here because a lot of students kind of get worried about this rare special question. Now, what are these changes all about? Well, I did a survey of about 400 students who took the test over the past 3 months, and this is what they told me. They said most frequently the change was related to some building on a university campus, like it was a change to the library, or maybe a change to some of the student housing or the cafeteria. Yeah, ETS, they love questions about cafeterias for some reason. Those come up a lot. They also said that sometimes it was a change to one of the classes, like it was a change to a class schedule, or it was about a new class becoming available, or some class becoming unavailable. They also said that some of the changes were about transportation, like a change to the university bus service, or something to do with a parking policy on campus. And lastly, sometimes they mentioned it was a change to some extracurricular activity, like a sports team or a social club or something like that. Now, this list isn't complete. You might get a change about something else entirely, but these are the most frequent topics. Now, I surveyed those same students and I asked them to tell me, did they support or oppose the change? Well, 50% of the students said the person in the conversation supported the change, and 45% said they opposed it. 5% got the mixed opinion. So again, be prepared for either support or opposition, and just kind of keep that mixed opinion option in the back of your head. It might come up. Don't be surprised if it does. All right, the last thing I have to say about the question design is the prompt itself. After you read the announcement and you listen to the conversation, the question comes up on your screen and it looks something like this. The woman expresses her opinion of the university's plan. State her opinion and the reasons she gives for holding that opinion. You'll be given 30 seconds to prepare your answer and 60 seconds to speak. Note, you cannot see the announcement when you're preparing or when you're speaking. After it goes away, it does not come back. So take some good notes. Now, we understand finally how the question is designed. Next, we need to know how to design our answer. Now, the fun thing is ETS designs the question the same way every week, so you can design your answer the same way every week. Well, every time you take the test. This is my basic template. You can change the template if you want, but this is kind of my basic expectation for an answer. There's 5 things I want you to include. First of all, I want you to state what the change is. Say something like, according to the announcement, or according to the article, and then just state the change very, very quickly. One short sentence. After that, state the reasons for the change. This is because reason 1 and reason 2. Again, I want just one quick sentence. Next, state the speaker's opinion. Just pick one of these sentences here from the screen and say it. Fourth, state the speaker's first reason. To begin with, he points out that, and then just give me 2 or 3 sentences about what that first reason is. Fifth, state the speaker's second reason. Moreover, he argues that, and again, 2 or 3 sentences, whatever you can manage. Now, you'll note that I have not included a conclusion here. That's because I don't think a conclusion is necessary. You could include one if you have a few seconds to kill at the end, but basically, your time is much better spent including reasons and details from the conversation. That'll get you a better score than including a conclusion. All right, before I give you a sample answer, just want to mention a few tips and tricks that will increase your score a little bit. First of all, link ideas using discourse phrases like as a result or consequently or moreover. I mention this in all my videos. These phrases are important. They're also pretty easy to use once you get used to them. Next, spend just about 10 to 13 seconds talking about the reading at most. Remember that most of your score is based on your summary of the conversation. That is really where your points are coming from. Don't waste time with a long reading summary. And on a related note, if you are a slow speaker, you could omit the reasons for the change. You could cut that line right out of the template if necessary. That's probably the least important part of the template. Lastly, I want to hear a mix of both simple and compound sentences. If you don't know what those mean, well, look up those terms. They're quite important. Not only are they important here, but they're important in basically all of your writing and speaking questions. But of course, I'll give you a few examples in just a moment. All right, today's sample question comes from the TOEFL IBT Speaking Questions PDF. It's on page 15. This is an official document from ETS, which is packed full of good speaking practice questions, and I'll put a link to it in the video description down below. Look for the question about the university building a new auditorium. And I should mention, if you want to hear me answering the other type 2 sample question from this PDF, you can do that in a video I made about 4 months ago, which I will also link to in the video description. All right, let's get started by talking about how to take good notes. That's the first thing you need to do when you're answering this question. And of course, you need notes about the reading and the listening. As for the reading, the first thing you should make a note of is the change itself. In this case, the change is that they are demolishing the campus auditorium and building a new one. Now, the change is usually mentioned at the very beginning of the reading. Sometimes, however, it's mentioned at the very end of the reading. So pay careful attention. Check both spots. Next up, you need to make a note of the first reason for this change. In this case, it's an old building that's showing signs of age. And lastly, you need a note about the second reason for the change. In this case, it's too small for the current number of students. Now, you don't need a lot of detail in the notes about these reasons, because like I said, you're only summarizing them very quickly in like one sentence combined. So don't waste too much time taking long notes. Just need a few things. After that, you need to take notes as you're listening to the conversation. First thing is, you need to note what the person's opinion is. And this is usually mentioned near the beginning of the conversation. Not at the absolute beginning, but pretty soon. After that, you need to mention, or you need to take a note about the first reason for their opinion. In this case, they oppose the change, and their first reason is that it is old, but it's historic and one of the first buildings on campus, so it should be preserved and not destroyed. Now, a few things you have to remember about these reasons. First up, they come in the same order as the reasons in the reading. So what I mean is, the first reason in the reading has to do with the fact that the building is old. And that's also the first reason that is challenged in the listening. See, it's integrated. Likewise, the second thing mentioned in the reading is that it's too small. And then the second reason mentioned in the listening is that, well, he's never seen it completely full. There's no events where all the students show up, so the size is okay. So as you can see, they're in the same order. And I think if you can understand this, your job will be a little bit easier on test day. And again, a lot of TOEFL textbooks get this wrong. They mix up the order and it becomes more complicated and difficult to understand. Don't be fooled by those books. Just pay attention to what I'm telling you here. All right, so we've got our notes from the reading, we've got our notes from the listening. Now, hopefully, we can turn that into an answer. Here's what I came up with. Now, I won't read the whole thing, but you can pause the video if you want. Basically, I'm just following the template and I'm filling in the blanks with my notes, right? So first I'm stating the change and the template's in red. Then I'm stating the reasons for the change. I'm stating the speaker's opinion. I'm stating his first reason and I'm stating his second reason. That's all I did. Now, as you can see, the longest part of my answer is the summary of the conversation. That's got a whole bunch of sentences. The reading summary is pretty short. Now, what else did I do to bring this to the next level? Well, I'm using some transitional phrases or discourse phrases. I'm using like therefore, and I'm using instead. And I'm also trying to create a few compound sentences. So I've got one here when I state the change with and then I'm using the conjunction so to create another compound sentence here at the end. So, just a couple compound sentences. It kind of shows off my grammatical ability. It makes my structure a little bit more advanced, and hopefully it will increase my score. Now, I tried to make my vocabulary maybe a little bit more advanced than, normal conversation. So I'm using the verb enrolled instead of saying the current number of students going to the school, I'm using the current number of students enrolled at the school. It's just a little bit more advanced. I'm not going crazy. I'm not hurting myself by using words that I don't totally understand, but I'm making an effort. Likewise, I'm referring to the entire student body. I could have just said which everyone attends, but I said which the entire student body attends. Again, I'm just using some slightly more advanced vocabulary, and I'm also using vocabulary that is commonly associated with conversations on campus. Now that's kind of a new idea I had, and I'm going to talk about it at the end of the video, but I think that could also increase your score a little bit. All right, so that's the sample answer. That's all you really need to know about how to put together these answers. Before I finish though, I want to talk a little bit about how your score is determined, because this is new as of 2019. First up though, you're graded by one human. This is kind of the same as it has been since 2006 when the IBT was created. And this human gives you a score for your delivery, for your language use, and your topic development. And apparently these three categories have equal weight. So they have equal value when your score is determined, and they are all described in the official speaking rubrics, which I will link to down below. But, in a nutshell, delivery refers to your pronunciation and how easy it is for the grader to actually understand what you're saying. Also, if you have good intonation and you're stressing syllables like a native speaker, your delivery score will be higher. Language use refers mostly to your grammatical correctness. If you're making a lot of spoken grammar mistakes, your language use score will go down. It also reflects your use of vocabulary. If you're using the wrong words, well, that could hurt your language use score. Lastly, topic development refers to the accuracy of your answer. So, did you get the right details when you were summarizing the man's opinion? That's going to increase your score. But if you made a mistake and you messed up one of the reasons for the change, well, that could hurt your topic development score. That should be pretty straightforward. But now you're also scored by the SPEECHRATER, and that's an automated scoring computer software thing. Now, that's a bit trickier. How does the SPEECHRATER come up with a score? Well, this is a topic for a whole new video because I've been doing a ton of research about it, but basically this is what I found out. It seems that the SPEECHRATER, broadly speaking, is scoring you in four main areas. First up is your fluency. This refers to a few things. First of all, how many words are in your answer? If you're speaking really slowly and you're not getting a lot of words in, your fluency score will go down. Also, if there's a lot of empty space in your answer, like you just stop talking for 2 or 3 seconds, that's going to hurt your fluency score. Also, all of the ah and the kind of pauses, those will hurt your fluency score. Pronunciation and rhythm should be pretty self-explanatory. That refers to how much you sound like a native speaker when you pronounce your vowels and your consonants. It also refers to your stresses and your intonations and how easily you are to understand. Lastly is your grammar. According to my research, the SPEECHRATER scores you in 4 main areas. First up, you have fluency. This refers to a few things. First of all, it refers to how many words are in your answer. If you're speaking really slowly and your words per minute rate is very low, you're going to get a low fluency score. Also, if you have a lot of long pauses in your answer, like if you stop talking for 2 or 3 seconds to think about what to say, that's going to affect your fluency score. And likewise, if you have a lot of and type pauses, your fluency score might go down. Next up is pronunciation and rhythm. This refers again to your accent, it refers to your stresses and your intonation, and it basically refers to how well you pronounce vowels and consonants compared to a native speaker. Grammar. Well, that's pretty self-explanatory. If your grammar is correct, you have a good grammar score. If you're making a lot of grammatical mistakes, your grammar score is going to go down. Also, I think this is one of the reasons you need to have like compound and simple sentences, because you need a wide range of grammatical structures and verb tenses to get a decent score. Lastly is vocabulary. Now, I think that the SPEECHRATER is given a list of vocabulary words. It's like 100,000 words or something. And if you are using words that it determines to be more advanced, you'll get a higher vocabulary score. And specifically, I think it is kind of given a list of words that are commonly used in university situations. And if you use those, I think your score will go up. Now, that's not a guarantee, but that's kind of what my research has suggested. Of course, I don't want you to go too crazy when it comes to vocabulary. Only use words you're really confident with. Otherwise, your plans could backfire and you could hurt yourself. All right, that's all I have to say about TOEFL speaking question number 2. But if you have any questions, just leave them down below and I will answer them as soon as I can. If you want to read more about the kind of stuff I do, check me out online at TOEFLresources.com. That's my website where you can find a ton of guides to all the sections of the test. And you can sign up for my essay evaluation service or even my speaking evaluation service if you want. All right, I'm going to leave it at that, but come by next week when I should have a video about TOEFL speaking question number 3. Take care. Until then, guys, I'll see you later.